All right, let's talk about the Green Bay Packers here for a little bit. Look, as we're going through training camp, as we're finishing up the preseason, a couple games left at this point, it's obvious this Packers team is young but talented. Jordan Love is making a lot of the right moves. But one of the things that can really hurt a young quarterback is when a front office, when a GM, when a coaching staff goes the wrong direction, has the wrong strategy. Fortunately for Packers fans, it looks like the GM and the front office are making a lot of smart moves. One in particular, we're going to highlight that today.
Yeah, Nick, I think this move or lack of a move was a very big deal for the Packers going forward. I think it's going to be huge for them. But Packers fans, we're talking about the season. We've seen preseason, we've seen training camp, but it's not quite like the real thing. So that's why we want to know in the comment sections below today, what game are you the most looking forward to? There's a lot of great matchups. Some come around every so often, so it might be a little bit more exciting. Some heated division rivalries. Those are always fun to watch as well. But let us know today in the comments below, what game are you the most looking forward to this season? But Nick, let's get on into it. What's going on with the Packers?
Yeah, so fans of this channel, or if you're new to this channel, one of the things we always try and talk about and try and find when it comes to stories and topics to cover is under the radar stories or under the radar comments that are really smart, things teams do that put them in positions to be successful, even though the talking heads on the big networks may be focusing in another direction. The good teams, the teams that are successful in the long term, make those kind of low-key smart moves. And the Packers just made one recently. In fact, just a couple hours ago. In fact, Miles, if you want to go ahead and throw up the report from NBC Sports, I will read from it. All right, from the report, if you're looking for veteran help at offensive tackle, you shouldn't call the Green Bay Packers about David Bakhtiari. That was the message from Packers general manager Brian Gutekunst on Friday. There's been chatter about the Jets discussing a possible run at trading for Aaron Rodgers' former blindside protector amid their own struggle, talking about the Jets, to find a healthy and capable starting offensive line. But Gutekunst said at a press conference that neither the Jets nor anyone else will be prying Bakhtiari from the Packers' clutches. First of all, we're not going to trade David, so just get that out of the way, Gutekunst said via Ryan Wood of the Green Bay Press Gazette. Bakhtiari has dealt with knee injuries over the last couple seasons, but Gutekunst said the veteran is in a good place as he heads towards his first season providing protection for Jordan Love. All right, this is obviously a really smart move. There is almost no value the Packers can get from moving off Bakhtiari. I'm going to talk about a few different points here, but the first one, if you look at just the salary cap sense of trading a veteran, the only time you would ever consider doing that if you got massive salary cap relief. Well, if the Packers traded Bakhtiari right now before the regular season, they would only clear up $2 million in cap space. It would cost them $19 million against the cap, right? There's just no sense to do that. You would take a $19 million dead cap hit and only free up $2 million of cap space. So from that perspective, it never made any sense. But when you talk about what you need on this team going forward, Miles, I'm going to read you the list right now. This is the age of the current Packers on their offensive depth chart going from top to bottom. Tell me which one jumps out at you. 24, 24, 23, 28, 23, 22, 31, 27, 25, 26, 24.
You know, Nick,
Right.
I don't want to say 31's old, but that's pretty old for that roster.
Oh, yeah. Bakhtiari is the only guy who has the experience. He's the veteran guy. He is the clear leader of that offensive line. Clear leader, I would argue, that entire offense, at least from a veteran perspective. It would make no sense to move off of Bakhtiari at this point. It's the right move to stick with him. And, of course, he's still a great pass-blocking left tackle when healthy. So I'm going to give some credit to the Packers and Gutekunst here. It's possible the Jets would have offered them a decent deal in terms of picks, maybe a second or a third. And for a guy in his 30s at offensive tackle, maybe a lesser GM would have taken it. But credit for the Packers here to making the right move and the smart move there. But enough about me, Miles. Let's hear from you now. What do you think of this decision about the Packers, Bakhtiari, and just everything with Green Bay right now?
Yeah, Nick, I think the point you bring up about the age is a huge one here because he's that lone veteran presence on the offense side of the field. Jones is a little bit older as well. When we say older, I mean he's, got drafted, in 2017. So, he has some years on him. But I think this is a team that is really, really young, and that's a good thing. But it's also good to have some veteran experience on there. Bakhtiari, let's say, even in the next few years, if he starts to slowly decline as far as level of play goes, which I don't really think that he will, that in knowledge and experience and having that in the room day in and day out is going to be invaluable. So I think as they make this younger shift to this Packers team, it's really key to have a guy like Bakhtiari in there to kind of help get everything gelled together. Keep, the glue guy, keep everybody together. But it also helps that still he is playing at an extremely high level. I think he's going to come back from injury and still be the player that we always thought that he was. So I think this is a great move, or non-move rather, by the Packers. And sometimes just going out and saying that gives your team a little bit of boost of confidence, because the media pundits are out there talking about, well, all these Green Bay Packers have been going to the Jets to go play with Aaron Rodgers, and then the whispers about Bakhtiari potentially getting traded over there. Well, they go out and say, listen, guys, he's staying. He is a Green Bay Packer right now, and for the foreseeable future, he is staying here. It's got to make the team have a little bit more confidence. Be like, all right, we don't got to worry about that anymore. Let's just focus on playing. So twofold, I think this was a really smart move by the front office.
And you brought up a great point about confidence, especially for Jordan Love, right? Because imagine if going through all this time with Bakhtiari being on the roster, being your most likely left tackle, your number one blindside protector, your best offensive lineman, I would say, if there was any indication that the Packers front offense would move off of him, it would have to be kind of a little snap in the back to Jordan Love, where it's like, hey, man, can I get some help here? Can I have somebody who's played at a high level back when the Packers were winning a lot of football games just a short years ago to help protect me a little bit? So moving off Bakhtiari would send the wrong message to Jordan Love. I agree with you there, but you brought up a great point when you talk about how good Bakhtiari is. And a lot of people kind of forget this because he has had some injury issues. But according to PFF, if you go back to I'll go back to 2016 here, Mize. This is a number of years. If you look at his pass blocking grade, because that's what really matters at left tackle. And for those of you who aren't familiar with PFF, anything in the high 60s and 70s is considered, okay, you're a decent starter. High 70s, you're a really solid player. In the 80s, you're a Pro Bowler, you're a star player. High 80s, you're all pro kind of guy. 90s, that's Hall of Fame stuff. So that's how PFF grades generally work. Going back to 2016, I'm going to run down the grades for you for Bakhtiari, Mize. 2016, pass blocking grade, 94.3. 94.6, 93.6 in 2018, 2019, 89.1, 2020, 91.6, 2021, he only played 27 snaps, so we're not going to count that year, and last season, 87.8. Incredible. So at worst case scenario, even going back to last year, he's still playing at an all-pro level. Best case scenario, he's a Hall of Fame left tackle. You don't move off a guy like that, especially when you got a young quarterback, especially when you got a young team. Credit to the Green Bay Packers for not even considering that temptation and making sure they keep one of their best players intact and on their roster.